Hi there, freelance friends. Welcome back. Thanks for joining me. I'm Jennifer, and I help freelancers simplify their tools and workflows so that you can work less, earn more, and avoid burnout. Now, today I'm going to talk about a topic that I think is really valuable. It's basically how you can think like an analyst without becoming one. And this is obviously really going to benefit you in your business. Now, for me personally, I've always been someone who's embraced numbers and technology. I've never really had a problem with data. But as a freelancer, I have a problem with time. That problem, I just don't have enough of it. Time is a valuable commodity, and as a freelancer, I am always trying to ensure that the time that I am working can be counted as billable hours for my clients. I want to make sure that my hard work is being compensated. But as a freelancer, I do often get files from clients. Now, sometimes they're spreadsheets that are giving me certain bits of information or reports or survey results, dashboards that they want to share with me. And when I get these, I immediately get a little tug of war internally. The kind where I feel like I know there's something important hiding in these documents, but I've also got other things to work on and don't have the time to necessarily do the deep dive that I maybe should be doing into these documents because of other outside deadlines, emails that I have to return, deliverables that I'm actually getting paid for. So in the case of me getting these files, I'll admit that I open the files with good intentions and I scroll through a little. I'll maybe filter a column or two or do some preliminary analysis, skim the graphs. And even though I know that there are potentially valuable insights in there, I sometimes just don't have hours to hunt for them. And I don't think that I'm unique to freelancing in that way. I mean, tell me if I am, but I suspect that a lot of you probably do what I've done in the past, which is skim this documentation, look for some patterns, and then go based on your experience and your instinct from there. I know I've done this before, but I've also seen other people do this before. And I figured it was something that it was time to address. Now, most of the time, or at least some of the time, that strategy that I just mentioned works, right? It's good enough, but it's not great. And wouldn't we like ourselves to be great if there was a way of doing that fairly easily? Now, for me, one of my solutions came when I started using Copilot's Analyst agent. It's quietly raised the bar for me. Not in a dramatic headline-worthy AI is changing everything today way, but in a much more subdued way. The why have I been doing this the hard way. And using Analyst created a shift that I didn't necessarily expect. The Analyst agent doesn't feel like a chat bot that just waits for me to phrase the perfect question. Instead, it's more like having someone sitting right next to me looking at the same messy spreadsheet or other document that you're looking at and say, hang on, did you notice this? So it is like having that buddy who's really good at analysis right beside you. It helps you to evaluate. It helps you to look for patterns across rows instead of just one slice at a time. It'll compare groups. It'll flag outliers. It summarizes what matters in that document in really plain language. And most importantly, it answers the kind of questions that freelancers generally ask, at least I do, without forcing us to become a spreadsheet wizard first. So this matters because I know that even though I like data, a lot of freelancers don't necessarily like that deep data dive. They don't feel like they're getting paid to analyze. They want to recommend, they want to be consultative, they want to help their clients decide and move forward. So sometimes analysis ends up being that invisible work that we're squeezing in between everything else and not having it rise to the priority that it is. So let me try to make an example that's really going to help this stand out for you. Let's just imagine that you're a freelance instructional designer, consultant, or strategist. Now, a client sends you some course data, the completion rates, the engagement metrics, feedback, comments. I'm sure that you've seen data like this before, but in this case, it's a pretty large data set, hundreds of rows and hundreds of rows from multiple courses with different departments and regions mixed together. So I'm sure that even if you can't picture this exact spreadsheet, you can picture a spreadsheet like it. And of course, you've been asked by the client to review it and suggest improvements. Now, prior to using the Analyst agent, you might scan your completion percentages, notice one or two courses look lower than the rest, doing that preliminary analysis, maybe pull a sampling of learner comments, a few highlights to support what you already suspect, but you do your best with the time that you have, which is probably limited time. But with Copilot's Analyst agent, you're going to be able to shift the conversation. Instead of manually digging, you're going to start asking questions out loud to Analyst. Well, maybe you type them in, or maybe you use the voice feature to read them in. So it really is out loud. But either way, it's those questions that you're already thinking, but you really don't have time to fully explore without a tool like this. Questions like, where are learners actually dropping off? Not just which courses they took. Now, additionally, you can ask things like, do certain teams or roles struggle more than others? What themes keep repeating in open-ended feedback? Which courses look successful on the surface but show low engagement underneath? So instead of just staring at rows and columns on your spreadsheet, hoping that something jumps out at you, you're going to be able to use Analyst to get a very clear pattern with summarized insights, basically information that's worth paying attention to. For instance, maybe Analyst helps you realize that completion is high, but time spent is unusually low. Of course, you'd be able to start asking the question, well, why is that? Or maybe one role consistently struggles halfway through a course. Why? What is the factor or factors there? Maybe feedback comments point to confusion after a specific module. Well, maybe take a look at that, figure out why, and then pivot it if you need to and change it. None of this assistance that you're going to get with Analyst replaces your judgment. You are still the expert. Your expertise is 100% necessary, but the Analyst agent is going to sharpen your judgment because suddenly your feedback to the clients isn't just, oh, here's what I noticed. Instead, it's something like, well, based on the data, there are 3 friction points, and here's what I'd recommend that you address first. That's going to be a different level of conversation with your client, and both you and the client are going to feel it, and it's going to be a positive feeling. And along with this, you get an unexpected benefit of confidence, especially when it comes to scoping and pricing a project. These skills are going to help you quickly understand what's actually going on with a client's data. And that's going to make you less likely to underestimate the complexity. You're less likely to agree to a few small tweaks that end up turning into a full redesign that takes a lot of time. These insights are going to help you to see the scope more clearly before you lock yourself into a fixed fee or timeline. Now you're going to be able to back up your recommendations with evidence so that you can explain why something needs attention. You can justify strategy decisions without hand-waving. It's going to help you to move from just doing tasks to being an actual strategic partner. Now, what I've noticed about freelancers who get the most value out of the Analyst agent is that they generally aren't the most technical ones. They're the ones that have the most curiosity, and they use Analyst to help to fuel that curiosity. They're freelancers who ask, what's really driving this? Is this happening everywhere or in just one area? What else am I not seeing yet? So if that's how your brain works, Copilot Analyst is going to fit naturally into your workflow. It's not going to dump one more work task on your plate. It's not going to slow you down. And it's not going to turn you into a data scientist either, in all honesty. It's just going to give you better clarity more quickly. And once you experience that shift in clarity, it's going to be really hard to go back to skimming and guessing. So I'm guessing that Copilot Analyst may be one of your go-tos once you start using it. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe. It helps build the channel and I really appreciate it. Thanks so much and see you next time.